Good evening. We're glad that you could join us. Last week we showed you some highlights of the Trappers Workshop that was held at the Inglemoor Hall here in Inuvik. This week we will show you some interviews that I did with some of the participants and also some more highlights of the same. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the program. For TAMAPTA, I'm Lawrence Rogers.
You notice that if I don't use that sawdust over here too much, and you might be seeing, I'll just show you here. And you notice all that fat on that, right on there. So this is the reason why I try to use sawdust. Keep it away from the health. Especially if I go down to the finishing.
I'm Alison Beale. I'm the Executive Director of the Fur Institute of Canada, and we're based in Ottawa.
How did you get involved with the Trappers Workshop here in Inuvik?
Well, the Daryl English, a conservation officer from Inuvik, gave us a call. He was organizing the workshop, and he wanted to have somebody come in and talk about the, particularly the situation with the European Union and this new agreement on international humane trapping standards that Canada has signed.
Mm-hmm. And what is some of the most important things concerning the European Union that the trappers here in the north are asking about?
Well, the most important thing is that what people have to understand is that the European Union is one of our biggest markets for wild fur, so that's very important for trappers to remember. And the Europeans had sort of threatened to stop importing our wild fur, which was very important to us to make sure that didn't happen. Now that we have this agreement, what the agreement says is that no matter where you're trapping, no matter what purpose you're trapping for, whether you're trapping wild fur for harvesting purposes, for eating, or like they do in Europe because they consider animals to be nuisances and they just want to be rid of them, that all animals have to be trapped the best way possible. And the wonderful thing about this workshop is that that's continuing education for the trappers so that they can continue to see new technologies and adopt new methods and just always be better at their job.
What types of implementations or stuff that the Fur Institute of Canada is doing right now?
Well, the interesting part is that the Institute has been named to be sort of the coordinating body between the trappers associations, the competent authorities, and the provinces and territories to make sure that everybody's moving in the same direction towards implementation. And the key to the implementation right now is research and development, so that we can validate all the traps that are being out there and make sure that they're performing according to these standards. And if they're not, then we're going to try and make them better. So we'll bring up improvements on these traps. That's the key thing. And then there's a whole series of processes to go through that the manufacturers of traps have to go through, that the trapper education programs have to go through, and then the regulatory issues have to be established. But the key to that is the research right now. And ultimately, for the moment anyway, we've heard a lot of trappers being very concerned that they're going to have to throw away all their traps and get all new traps, that they're going to need a trap exchange program. Well, right now, there is nothing to tell us that that's going to be the case. And we're working very hard to make sure that the tools that trappers have in their sheds and on the backs of their snowmobiles are still going to be usable in 5 to 8 years as well. So trappers shouldn't be throwing things away. They certainly shouldn't be worried about trap replacement programs at the moment. They should be thinking about it, and their associations or their groups should be talking to governments about being prepared for the eventuality. But there's nothing right now that's telling us that that's going to be a necessity.
Can you tell me about, you talked a little bit about standard traps. Can you tell me the difference between a standard trap and a trap that's been modified?
Okay, so if you're looking at, for example, a beaver a beaver trap, which would normally be a 330, which is the size of the frame of the trap itself. What we look at is that trap, and if that trap doesn't work for the species that we're looking at, then you're going to look at a way to try and make it more powerful or more specific on the strike location where it's going to actually strike the animal, so that you can get a very quick and effective kill with a trap that's intended to be a killing trap. And the whole idea is that you want to make traps better so that you can do your job better, so that you can get a better quality price for the result of your labors in trapping.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's pulled into place, you pull the safety off, and you're set. Set the loop first, right? Every good trapper knows that. And his idea is setting it along a trail or whatever. For coyotes, we wait till they're trailing into a bait pile, in through the snow. It's like snaring wolves. You're snaring along the trail. A lot of the guys are painting them white because, or putting a twig in front, because as the animal comes down the trail, he sees this thing kind of sticking out of the snow. We found that the scent, we treat our springs and stuff, but we found the scent of the device wasn't as important as all of a sudden you've got something sitting there. But in principle, it's a good device. It works very well. And that's how it would work with the young. I don't know, Peter, I mentioned to Peter this morning that I don't know of this size of cable. You'd have to try it, because I almost, like with this size of cable, just to fire it on a glove or something before you go out. And if the cable snaps, I'd go to the next size larger, because that sure doesn't seem to be much. You know, maybe add a little bit of length too, because I can't envision as this opens, the head of a squirrel or a rabbit staying on. Just put your hang on that. No, as the tension goes, you can see if this goes out quite a ways, it might pull the head off the animal. Like maybe lengthen that cable.
Maybe that's the idea. And you don't have to fight taking it apart. Deep out in the bag and pick your snare, get it going.
I showed the other group in this book. I've never seen this book before, but in this book he has pictures, and this is pretty much when we're using him for kites. That's what we pretty much see. The snare opens and the pressure's on. The animal dies really quickly. Originally, we did some work with fox years and years ago, and there's different ways to set them up.
That little plate that won't down is the fair top.
What's that?
That little plate on the that won't down is the fair top.
It shouldn't, though. You could probably take a file and maybe around the edge. The other ones that he had originally, were like this. These are the ones I'm used to, where it's on the inside. Maybe for the smaller species, he wanted something there. But those are the ones we use, because they're all enclosed.
A directive from for Institute of Canada was put out, and we responded, and here we are to present the research program.
Is there a lot of new invention of different types of traps being tested today?
I think if we look at the total number, it's somewhere between 130 to 160 different types of traps that we've tested, and a lot of good ideas, and a lot of it coming from the trapping community.
There was a guy that I talked to, he's a local guy here from the Delta. He says he invented 2 traps.
Yes.
I think his name is, well, I forgot his name now. But anyways, he says he invented 2 traps. Have you gotten a hold of them yet? Or?
What happens in that case is when the inventor has a trap, he sends that down to the Fur Institute of Canada. They review it, and a committee looks at it, and it's sent out to us then to assess technically, and to possibly, if it's a good device, to test on animals.
What kind of stringent test do you do on the trap before it does go out on the market?
There's a series of tests, and the range is from what's called a mechanical test, so we're looking for the speed of the trap and the strength of the trap, and the durability of the trap, how well it'll hold together after many strikings. And then we do a series of behavioral type approaches with the animal, see if the animal, indeed, it is a trap for the animal from a behavioral perspective. And then we move on to the kill test to assess whether the trap actually can effectively kill an animal.
How long was it before the conibear trap went on the market? How long did it take? How many years, or in terms of years and months, did it take for it to go on the market?
The conibear trap has been around a long time, and I think with the modifications, there's a time period of a couple of years where manufacturers picked up on it and then generated a new version of the conibear, the new quick kill.
The word conibear, is that from the inventor's name, or?
I believe his last name was Conibear, and it was originally designed as a body gripping trap. So one must understand that it was designed to grip by the body as a replacement for, even then, the conventional leg hold, and this was many years ago. By modifying the set and the trigger configuration, we can turn that device into a quick kill trap.
Why did the trappers all over the world were instructed or to change into a more humane trap? Why is that?
Basically, because of the time we live in and the way the end user as well as the general public views the industry or the use of animals, things had to change. People become more aware of the techniques and of the devices, and they wanted to change, and we have to respond.
Why did we have to change? I mean, the European Union have lots of things that they don't like about the way we trap here in the north or in Canada.
Basically, we were the leaders or took the forefront with that, and if we hadn't changed, we'd have probably lost our fur industry because of the politics of the issue. And we are the leaders in terms of the technical program all over the world in terms of the trap research and the changing or the modification and the use of the devices.
Is there anything that you'd like to say on TV that maybe I failed to ask you?
Carry on. We're all in this together, and each of us does our part, and I think the fur industry will be around for a long time.
Thanks very much.
What you're harvesting. With marten, it's fairly easy to keep track of your harvest. In a normal marten population that's healthy, maybe 30, 40, 50% of it is juveniles, animals that have been born that spring, and they're entering their first winter, or they're in their first winter. And if you were to manage that population on a nice sustained basis, so there's lots of animals year after year, you want to trap a lot of the juveniles, because they're the ones that travel and die fairly quick, but you want to leave the adults a lot, and also leave the females. Because of the way juveniles are, especially juvenile males, there's generally a trap bias, so that if you take a population and start trapping it, in general, you're going to start getting young animals at the beginning, you're going to start getting young males. If you keep trapping it and trapping it and trapping it, eventually you're going to get rid of most of the young animals, and you're going to start catching older ones and females. And that's when you want to say, okay, well maybe I've hit this area hard enough, and we should rest it for the rest of the winter, and then next year there'll still be lots of animals there, because the females will still breed and still pump out new litters every spring. The way to do it with marten is fairly easy. Obviously, you can tell the sex of the animal. Aging a marten is fairly easy to get a rough age to be able to distinguish the ones that are born that year, what we call young of the year, and older animals. And what they've done, and this is they've looked at thousands and thousands of carcasses. You look at what's called the temporal crest, or the temporal muscles. These are the muscles on top of the brain, or top of the skull, I should say. We've got, just by coincidence, we've got 3 males here. 2 of them are juvenile, and 1's an adult. In their first winter of life, so these 2 are both juveniles. They were born in March or April of the year. These were trapped last winter, I presume. So they were born in March of April the year previous, and they were trapped their first winter. The temporal muscles, as an animal ages, grows together. So these muscles on both sides of the top of the skull will generally form up into what scientists call the sagittal crest. That's that ridge that you can feel down the top of the head. And a lot of animals have it. Dogs have it and things like that. So in their first year of life, a young male, the sagittal crest will not be formed, or if it's formed at all, like this one, it's just very short, only about 1/4 of an inch. If this animal then was more than a year old, or at least a year old or older, you will find this, where the sagittal crest has formed. You have the muscles are in effect touching along at least 1 inch or 1.5 inches of the skull. So right off the bat, you can just look at these animals, and you can look at your old harvest. If you trap 10 marten in a day, you can just, after you finish skinning them, just have a glance at the skulls and say, okay, well today I got 2 juveniles and 1 adult, and on a small sample, that's a pretty good ratio. If you were to start trapping, especially later in the year, and you catch, let's say, 15 animals the next time you go out, and you find that 8 or 10 of them are females, and of those 15, maybe 6 or 8 or 10 or 12 are adults, then it might suggest to you that, okay, for the animals that are out there, they're being harvested a little bit too heavily perhaps, and it might be time to ease off, let the rest of the animals rest, and then there'll be more for next year. That's kind of simplifying things, but that's something that a trapper can do. That'll give them a better harvest year after year.
First of all, can you tell me your name and what's your occupation and how you got involved with Trappers Workshop here in Inuit?
Yeah, my name is Eric Loring, and I work for the Inuit Tapirasat of Canada, and I'm their environmental and wildlife coordinator or director. And the reason that I'm here in Inuvik is one, to get to know Inuvik and to introduce myself to the people here in Inuvik. Because since I'm sort of coordinating all the environmental and wildlife issues for the Inuit across Canada, it's really important for me to know the concerns that are going on in all the different regions. And my background is sort of the Eastern Arctic, and so I haven't been to Inuvik before. So this is my first time here to get to meet the people here and to get to understand some of the concerns that are going on in this region. And that's the main reason that I'm here at this workshop now, is to try and get an understanding of the concerns that the people are having towards the trapping issue. And one of the problems that I get all the time being in Ottawa is that I don't hear the concerns from the community levels about trapping or wildlife or any of the problems that might be. So it's really important for me to get back into the communities where these problems are or these concerns are, and then to be able to voice them back to the Fur Institute of Canada or to the government or to the powers that be, just sort of represent a voice for them, for the Inuit.
What is the condition of the trapping industry in the Eastern Arctic as opposed to here in the Western Arctic?
It's very different. That's all part of my learning process now. The trapping industry in the Eastern Arctic, it's not as there's not as much resources for trapping as there are, say, in the Delta. I mean, we just ended up skinning a few mink and martens, and we just don't see those in the Eastern Arctic. Mainly, it's for the Fur Institute of Canada is concerned, it's mainly fox. But for the Eastern Arctic, the main fur that's important is really seal. Mm-hmm. And so it's a whole different issue for us in the Eastern Arctic compared to the Western Arctic of sort of importance for each community. Mm-hmm. So we have a real, in the Eastern Arctic region, it's really the seal issue, and the seal fur issue is really the important issue there, where over here it might be foxes and well, I think mainly foxes for the most of the Inuit regions north of here, you know, Holman Island and Saxe Harbor and that.
The ITC.
Yes.
Is it directly involved with the Inuvialuit of the Western Arctic?
Oh yeah, we represent the Inuit across the whole Arctic. Mm-hmm. So what will eventually happen once my job gets, I get to know people better, is that we'll have coordinators, and we have coordinators set up in most of the regions. And there's a coordinator here in town named Billy Archie, who is who works for ITC as an environmental contaminant coordinator. Mm-hmm. So anybody that has concerns towards contaminants goes to Billy Archie, and then Billy Archie then informs me what those concerns are. So there's a sort of a stepping stone from me to Billy to the community. Mm-hmm. And that's what I'd like to set up with everything. You know, that means fur issues, sealing issues, whaling issues, other environmental issues that might come up, is that I'll have those people set up who can then voice them back to me. Mm-hmm. So I'm not directly related with the IRC. I'm more of a Pan-Arctic, say, sort of representative. Mm-hmm. And the Inuvialuit are just one of the people who, in the north, who I represent.
What are some of the things that you came over here to view some of the goings on here at the workshop? What are some of the things that are new and that you're learning from?
Well, my main concern here is just one. I wanted to view the Fur Institute of Canada's lectures to here in Inuvik, and to get a better understanding on the role that they play in the whole issue, because I really didn't know their position on certain issues. So I came to sort of hear them give lectures into northern communities. Mm-hmm. And my real interest coming here was just to sit back, to sort of be in the background and just hear concerns from the people themselves, you know, from the Inuit, from the Inuvialuit, and the Gwich'in, and anyone else concerning the fur issue, because it was an issue for me that I needed to learn a lot more on, and it's been really important for me to hear the kind of concerns that people are raising for trapper education and the new traps that are being imposed, and that's going to be important for me to then take that and educate other regions in the north as far as these new laws and new regulations. Mm-hmm. So,
is there anything that you'd like to add that I failed to ask?
No, I just, I'm glad you were able to take this opportunity, because it's really important for me to, you know, to sort of get to know people. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really my main job, is I really like to, you know, get to know people and to hear the concerns, and for people to know that they have a place to go to if they have any concerns about the environment and the wildlife. I can be reached at the Inuit TPIRSAT office in Ottawa, and that's my main duty, is to sort of take those concerns and then to make sure they get voiced to the proper places. And it's just it's been a pleasure for me to be up here and to be in Inuvik for my first time, and I hope to come back many more times.
Okay, thanks very much.
Thank you very much.
I'm Marshall Buchanan, and I'm coordinating the Natural Resources Training Program at Aurora College. And my students attended the Trappers Workshop because when they graduate from the program, they're going to be working for the community and through various government agencies and Gwich'in or Inuvialuit management boards to try and deal with trapping as one of the resource-based industries of the Northwest Territories. It was interesting to see the beginnings of a fur management strategy, and my background is primarily in forestry and ecology, and in forestry field we tend to plan things on a sort of a 5-year action time frame and then a 20 to 100-year long-term planning scale. And so I was comparing how fur management and wildlife management was being handled, and it looked like it's still in some ways it's in its beginning stages here compared to other resource industries. And I think some of the other issues that came up, which I see happening right across Canada, are the in a way some of the downsizing where they're trying to get a Trappers Association going that'll take on some of the roles that government is already playing, and so it'll be a little more community driven.
So we're going to roll along fairly quickly to wrap up today. Initially, Joey and I were going to go through some of the issues and further concerns, but I think John and Kim and Marcia and Norm did a really good job on summarizing all of those and presenting them. So unless there's anything specific that was missed on all that list that people still want to discuss and bring out and make sure there's an action item, is there anything on that list people still think we need to make sure we address?
Thanks for joining us this evening. We hope you enjoyed our program. To the trappers who are probably getting busy for this coming trapping season, we hope you catch lots of fur this year. And it was very encouraging to hear that Robert Alexi Sr. saying that he was taking some young people out to his camp to teach them about trapping and living off the land. It's good to hear that elders care enough to do that. Thanks again for watching. Good night.
Heavenly Father, we are thankful for guidance and just being with us these last 2 days. We thank you for your love for us and your grace. We thank you for the land that you have given to us, and we can benefit so much from it. We thank you for all the game that you have planted, and we can go out and trap and hunt and enjoy life. Thank you for the good land that you've given to us. We thank you for being with us, guiding us, and giving us thoughts. We ask that you would continue to do that we will give place